And finally, after about 2 days after 9/11, I lay down on the couch and there was a soul that came to me. It was a woman who, um, she was kind of not sure what happened. And I'm like going, I'm talking with her going, "It- you came across country because New York is like, that's on the East Coast and I'm on the West Coast of the United States. So there's quite a bit of distance." And she goes, "I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what I'm doing." And so this is the thing that happens in my intuition, that I just know what to do in a situation. I don't question it. I trust it. I just go into this, and so I just knew, okay, let's go back. Let's go back and find what happened.
I'd like to welcome to the show Natasha Venter. Thanks for being here, Natasha. It's great to have you on the show.
But thank you so much for this invitation. I have been blessed to be on many shows, and this is one of those that I'm going to collect into that knowing of I've been so grateful for. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, I understand that. So, where I'd like to start is I understand you've got some vivid memories of your birth. So, can you take us back to then and paint a picture of what it was like when you first came into this world?
Okay, well, I have very much of a remembrance of being born. Many people go through their near death experience, and I kind of take it as I came into this world with a near death experience. There's a memory that I have of being up in the hospital room and watching a woman at this time, in my soul being up in the corner of a woman on a hospital bed with the doctor and a nurse. And this was in the middle of the night. Things were pretty quiet. I knew it was kind of that I didn't know it was nighttime, but it just seemed like that peacefulness that was in the room. That wasn't like a hustle and bustle of a day. And then all of a sudden, whoop, and then I see, not trying to be graphic here, the inside of my mom, and all of a sudden pop out. And all of a sudden I'm seeing this face that had a white mask and the cap, and then he was a rounded faced man. And then I don't really remember anything until me being picked up. I was picked up, and it's almost that image of picked up and then you see someone's face, because being, and I knew that, this is a memory that I have. So I'm putting these memories together as I get older and going, oh, maybe I was a little bit young because, the head needing to be supported, type of thing. And the smile. And I remember seeing the ceiling, and then I remember a lot of the things that happened, being a kid sitting on the floor, being more like months old, and, these different times where I have more memories before the age of 3 than I almost did between 7 and the teen years. So going into this, that I remember, and then there's this really vague, it was a vague memory as I was growing up, but there's this whisper of a lot of my past lives that I was in. And there were always something that I knew. And then, having that memory of standing at, I want to call it a podium, for lack of a better word, or a table, or it could have even been a piece of rock, one of those types of things. It's a really thick book, and the book was flipped open, and somebody was asking me questions, and I have this remembrance of going, nope, not in this lifetime. Nope, I'm not doing that in this lifetime. And then come to find out, it was like, oh, I don't want to eat this. I don't want that to go down my throat. I don't want this to go down my throat. It's like, and then as I was growing up, I'm, very picky about my eating, and it was more about textures. Like if somebody gives me a smoothie, I will not take it. That texture. But I'm putting that, as I'm growing up, that analogy into how many times was I poisoned, or food shoved down my throat, or those types of things that I didn't have control over. And this is my lifetime. I'm taking control. Not, I don't want to call it control like tight lipped, but control over my body, my soul's journey, my understanding of life. I've had many people who've told me, Who? What are you saying?" And I'm like going, "I'm saying it. This is my lifetime to do this." So there's been a lot of these things that have come forward in my understanding, knowings, not a meditation. They're just knowings that I've popped in. I've always had this dream of me standing in front of, like, the we have in the United States here, they're the flats of the Midwest. They're the Dakotas, so it's where the mountains are and that kind of stuff. But there's a flats, and I come out of a hut that is kind of in the ground, and I walk out, and I have my 2 children with me, and there's 4 Indian braves stand on horseback in front of me. And I have this knowing that my husband is off buying cattle. And then as I'm saying this to the braves, I'm getting a hit intuitively, he's not coming back. He actually left me. And so then these braves, I don't remember dying in that lifetime, but I don't think the braves killed me. Because I stood in front of them. I've always been a strong soul, but yet at the same time. So I've had many past life memories, if you want to call them past life memories of my soul being very awake. And so that's why I've always said that my soul has kind of have an awakened lifetime. My cousin said, "Natasha, we come from an intuitive family, but when you said something, we stopped and we listened." And I wasn't one that spoke very much. I was very shy and quiet. People don't believe that, but I was shy and quiet. It took my parents passing away, and then the universe said, "It's time for you to be you. It's time for you to come into this." And so it was one of those things that I'm walking my soul's path in this lifetime, which I'm grateful for.
So I was going to ask you at what point that the things evolved from just having past memories to some of the psychic and medium abilities, and how that when that started to evolve and how that affected your life. And sounds like when your parents passed away, that was when things altered for you, or was it sometime before then that things started to happen?
I've always been intuitive. I've always had knowings. I've always had these awarenesses, the spirits around me, the vibrations of energy around me. My dad was a chiropractor. And so even at the age of 5, 7, if somebody was too old, I would be his surrogate muscle tester. So I always learned about energy and knowing of that. So I wouldn't say that I say that I have been intuitively awoken my whole life, but I was so shy and quiet that I was shut down much of my life. And then when my parents passed away, they passed away within 3 years, and I was having my first child 6 weeks after my dad died. And then 3 weeks before I found out my mom had Lou Gehrig's disease, I had my second child. And so going through that grief, it really woke me up. And I decided this was a time, I was told intuitively, this was a time for me to flip that box over of everything that I put in that box. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to have this. I'm not going to deal with this. Even being abused, physically abused when I was a kid, I put it in a box, and I flipped that box over and dealt with everything. And then the universe just basically said, "This is time for you to be a voice for us." And that's when I became more outwardly intuitively. People would always say, "You need to be a counselor, Natasha." But I was so dyslexic, I didn't read until after high school. So a lot of my knowings, a lot of my intuitive knowings came from me hearing whispers, those knowings, those doings that came to me that that you know I was always being who I was supposed to be, but now I flipped that coin over and said, "It's time for me to be a voice." And that meant that I had um, to go past being shy and quiet, go past all these limitations. And the universe is basically push, shoved, and as Archangel Michael said, "You asked for grace and ease, but I'm still going to use my sword and go poke, 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 poke." So going into this, that there is this story of life, but we're all intuitive. But like my cousin said, "Natasha, we come from an intuitive family, but there's something different about you." And I guess that's who I am. So,
Now, there's a story about 9/11, which I don't want to give away, but could you tell us about that? I find that one really interesting.
oh, yes, that one still touches me even today. Um, it was so empowering for me that, I took my kid to school, and, I had this feeling like there was something around me, and this is before my mom passed away, and I was still in grief, and, because my parents passed away within 3 years of each other.
Mhm.
And so, going into this, the grief just kinda sat with me, and so I wasn't really clear about what was going on, and finally, after about 2 days after 9/11, I lay down on the couch, and there was a soul that came to me. It was a woman who, um, she was kind of not sure what happened, and I'm, like, going I'm talking with her going, "It you came across country because New York is, like that's on the East Coast, and I'm on the West Coast of the United States, so there's quite a bit of distance," and she goes, "I don't know where I'm at, I don't know what I'm doing," and so, this is the thing that happens in my intuition that I just know what to do in a situation. I don't question it, I trust it, I just go into this, and so I just knew, "Okay, let's go back. Let's go back and find what happened." We came back and we found her body. It was in a lot of rubble. Uh, she, passed away quickly, gratefully. Um, and so we sat for a little bit integrating that moment in, that her soul realized truly what happened. And then she says, "Can I go and see my home?" And as we went to her home, her flat, as it would be called, I guess, because it was in between New York has, these homes, and so that was we walked up to one of the homes, they were all connected, and, we walked through, and she showed me a picture of her husband. Can still remember him, I wish I could get a hold of him. Um, and, went around and just said goodbye to the area, and as she said that she was ready, we came out, and we both looked up, and the miracle, I'm gonna call it a miracle, the moment that we saw was this ring of of the sky was open over 9/11. It was open, and I'm getting chills, there's angels shoulder to shoulder in this ring open. So basically they were like this, angel to angel, and the song was I can't even go there as a human. The song that they were singing these souls home, and she looked at me and she said, "Thank you," and then she floated up. Not to say that heaven's not up or down, but this was a moment where the angels wanted all of them to go to one place. And to this day, I hear that loving song. If you could put look the true love to a tone that the angels can sing, that's what they were singing, and they were just they were inviting all the souls that were lost to go home. And what a blessing that was, and then I came back to my body um, and laid there for a moment just in awe of, what happened. It was just so divinely guided. It was I can't necessarily put it into words because it was so, like, magic in the sense of death. That's the thing that I've learned is that there's so much magic, there's so much love, there's so much Um, oh, it's just miraculous what the soul goes through to go home. I mean, we're always home, but there is the distance between our body and where we're going. So that's what I'm meaning by home.
Those angels, of another one of my guests and my great friend Nikki Allen talks about the seraphim,
Mhm.
and they're the ones, the angels that sort of do the healing. That sounds very much like that. Did you have a sense of the identification of which angels they were?
I have an understanding that we have our angels that are we have the earth angels that are on this planet. And then we have like the helper angels, and I would call my house angels, the ones that protect my home, the ones that kind of come down to a lower 3D vibration. You know, they sit at this level. And then we have the working angels that are a higher vibration, but they're not necessarily the archangels, but they are the worker angels. And many souls that are around are angels. And so, like for me, I remember in a past life or a life, that I was on the battlefields, and I was an angel that was helping people either to get off the battlefield, giving them inspirations in their ear, or taking their soul to where they can go and be, transfer them from their body to their soul, to their the next understanding, I'm going to call it. And so with that there are these angels that are different levels, and the angels that I saw were archangels and the collective angels that are surrounding us at all times that were up doing that. So there was a collective of those different angels, but there was hundreds, thousand, you could even say 1,000 angels that were in this ring. It was so beautiful, and the colors, if you ever see a rainbow, it's even purer color than that. And, it was just amazing. It was just amazing.
You mentioned that you've had some difficult experiences in your life, and I've interviewed a lot of people, uh, psychic mediums, and it seems to be fairly common for people who are sensitive and have gifts that develop in their life to, I guess, have chosen to have a rather challenging and difficult life as well that goes with it. Were there any particularly difficult experiences that you look back and you go now, well, that was actually really essential to my development and growth? And do you have a sort of any insights for people who maybe have had many difficult experiences in their life as to why we would choose that?
I would gather that understanding that when we come into this world, we write a contract that I'm gonna have this kind of experience. The thing is, though, when we come in as a soul, we forget that there's gonna be the human element into it. So if we're gonna wanna learn, like, how to stand on our own 2 feet, get empowered, get into our knowings, get into our we're gonna have an experience of, let's say, a challenging parent. But the humanness of that might be that parent was abused themselves and was very abusive. And so then there was that extra little, I'm gonna call it salt and pepper or spice into life that really creates that. So going into that story, that we don't always pick what happens to us, but the thing is, though, there are certain things that happen because there's the human element of choice. There's the human element of experience with the emotion. And that's one reason why our soul comes onto this planet, is to deal with and negotiate the emotions, because that's the most awakening thing that we can go through to help our soul experience, our knowings experience the journey of its path. And so with that I can say that every experience that I have gone through, even though it was humanly experienced, like me being abused when I was 5 years, what was I, 4 years old,
Mm.
when I was abused when I was 4 years old by a neighbor, that even though my soul didn't choose that experience, but my experience was of that soul. So then going into that now as an adult, when I finally was able to really know that I had that happen to me, because I blocked it as a memory. My dad even said, "Natasha, you peed through a straw for a week." At that time. My mom didn't even remember. So there was things that were blocked out of that time. But what I ended up finding out is that it was time for me to uncover those shadows, those darkness, that cloud that was underneath over me. It was time for me to take that off and say, okay, now I've learned and experienced that. Now when somebody in my counsel, when I have a private session with somebody, that counsel, I can empathize a little bit more with that understanding. And it's not necessarily that I mean, I wouldn't say that I've forgiven that person because I believe that there's things that you cannot forgive. But I have, negotiated that experience enough to know that it's for my greater good. So with that, even if you take that I just celebrated 33 years of marriage with my husband, 35 years together. He's now, almost 12 years sober. So a lot of my marriage was dealing with a depressed alcoholic man. So going through that, he taught me, like he says, "Natasha, you're not the same woman I married." I was shy and quiet when I was first marrying him, and then now it's like he says he's afraid I'm going to leave him if he does something because he knows I'm more empowered. Not that I throw that in his face. I am far from. I mean, if I was going to leave him, I would have left him during his drinking years, right? So I don't throw that into his face. But at the same time, though, he knows that I'm not willing to put up with things because even my husband has done things that are unforgivable. When he has gone into some dry drunks, they are unforgivable moments that he has talked to me the way he has. But at the same time, though, he is a man who is growing and changing. And I love that man that he's been maturing into. So we bypass that moment and move forward. But the thing is, though, if he ever goes back to that unforgivable moment, I won't go back there. Nope, not going back there. You either make a choice to change this conversation or or we're making a choice to change this conversation is what I would usually say to him.
Mm,
We're going down this rabbit hole and I'm not going to experience this again. And so I
mm.
have boundaries with that. And and so that's where going through things is not necessarily that it's wrong that we go through things. And I am so sorry if somebody goes through the hell of life. They grow up in a very abusive family, or they grow up in an alcoholic family, or they, um, like I've had clients who have been sold on to the sex trade. You know, I am so, I wish so different for them, for you, if you're listening. But the thing is, though, what are you going to do about it? You know, and that's the choice we have in this lifetime is to either be the victim of it or find out how we can mature out of it. I have conversations daily with my husband that bring up PTSD type moments of unsafety. But what do I do with it? I say, okay, wait a minute. We're safe here. We're in a different time. We're in a different knowing. We're safe here. And that calms that energy of PTSD. And I always believe who's controlling who? Is it my fear that's controlling me? Is it my anxiety controlling me? Or are we working together to negotiate moving forward in life? I don't like anything to control me. I don't even like to control me. Isn't that a statement? I don't like to control me. So I believe that life happens for us, with us, to teach us how to be a stronger person, how to stand on our own 2 feet, how to be grounded in who we are so that we can claim we are important. Like I work in elementary school and I tell the kids, I is capital because I am important. I am worthy of being alive. I am who I am. And it kind of makes a sense why we are capitalized as an I. But that's my perspective. That's how I've gotten through life. It's not been a easy life, but I wouldn't say that I've had a hellish life. I've had hellish lives in other lifetimes where I've been poisoned and killed and stabbed and hung, and I didn't need to experience that in this lifetime, but I married an alcoholic, had parents who passed away within 3 years of each other at the same time I was having kids. Grew up with, or, had my husband's ex-wife who was not easy for most of my stepson's, life. It things happen to us, but what are we gonna do with it?
Mm.
What are we gonna do with it? I choose to, say the mantra, "This is here to teach me. What are you here to teach me? Why am I here in this moment?" And as soon as I do that, I experience a different experience of it. It changes my perception, so then I move forward into it.
I was going to ask you to elaborate a little bit on, because I've heard you say that we're all divine at our core, and even if we do get bogged down with life's challenges from time to time, and what practices you have that help you stay connected to that part of yourself. And it sounds like that's one of them. Just reminding yourself that things happen for you rather than to you. Is there anything else that
Mhm.
people could use?
Exactly. Another thing that like to do is that when something is in my life and it's trying to undermine me, it's trying to take my feet out from underneath me, it's the experience is trying to belittle me, it's trying to shift my energy, that I usually try to look at my feet, or I try to imagine that, that I'm here. Like, I had an experience where, my evaluation at my job, that they told me untruths, that I was late for my work, that I wasn't good at working with kids, and all these things, and so then my job description changed because of it. And one thing that I sat there for a minute, and after I was working through the emotions, so I was writing things down, this is what happened, and that kind of stuff, and then I called up my principal and I said, "I wanna have a meeting to have another meeting of why this is the reason it is." And the one thing that I got this image of is that when I was in this situation, is take the person out of the situation. So I'll give an example. My evaluation, the words were told to me that I was late and that I was not good at working with kids one on one. Okay, so that's a statement. It doesn't matter who said it, that was the statement. So, how am I going to negotiate that statement? Well, it's an untruth. For one, I had outstandings on most of my evaluations through my 20 years of working there. So I know that that's not a truth. And then our school time is like 3 to 5 minutes off in each classroom. So who's truly late? Okay. So then what I did is that, and this was triggering a lot of things because me being dyslexic, there's a lot of times that I have been overlooked. When people think that you cannot read, they think that you're stupid.
Hmm.
I'm just going to say that. They think that you're stupid. I can tell you, I'm far from stupid. I may not do things in a straight line. I may not do things by reading it, but I will definitely get it done. And I work with kids who are dyslexic. So I know how to work with these kids in the backwards way. And so going into this, that I went into my evaluation, separating out the person who did this. I didn't want to have the emotion of the person who told me. I wanted to deal with the situation. They told me this. So when I went in and had a meeting with my supervisor, I used the word. So the reason why I called this meeting is because this and this and this was told to me. And before I went in, I asked my guides, I said, guides, if I start getting emotional, what is the word that you're going to tell me to help me through this? And they said, breathe. So as I was talking and I started getting myself out of my body, started rising up into emotion, rising up into my mind instead of down into knowings, I was rising up into it. I heard the word breathe. Okay. So the reason why, I would go back to that. The reason why I'm calling this meeting is because of such and such and such and such. So going, we used to have a show called, I forget, it was a detective show, and it was like The Facts, Ma'am, just the facts. And a lot of us put in too much emotion into a situation. She said da 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 to me. She, he. We put in too much emotion instead of discerning out what is the experience. And then later, when I was talking about what was happening, and I said, the person who told me some of this, in my evaluation wasn't there. And I said, and she's not here to defend herself. But what I witnessed and what I heard is this. And this is what triggered in me the emotions. So going into this, if we can discern out the people, the emotion of it, and look at what truly is being told to us, that I was not doing my job well, I know that's not a truth. So how can I write that truth in me? And then I just had to evaluate and clarify what that new job looked like for me. The two people who witnessed that meeting said, I did pretty darn good in the moment, but I also give it over. So in other words, Archangel Gabriel, the greatest angel to help you with communication. Angel with communication. And then I asked my other guides and beings to help out with those understandings. I have a guide that helps me out with technology. He's called Roger Dodger. He used to be a airplane in the war, in one of the wars, and he said that he would help me out. We were friends, I guess, in one of the wars, and so he said, "I'll help you out with technology." Oh my gosh, he helps me out quicker than, but he adds fun to it. I used to not technology. I can pick up a phone and zap it. I can turn things off. I can turn things on, and so he helps me out a lot with it. But that's the thing is that we we've been in this experience in the last many years of learning about emotions, and now emotions have taken over. So we have to almost discern out a lot of those emotions that he, she, this is, and then those triggers, because a lot of us are being triggered from things that happened in our childhood that we don't even know why we're triggered.
Mm,
So if we can take out the tone of the voice, out what was being said, and just get into the facts. The facts, these were the words that were told to me. This is what I need to look at. What can I do with this that's triggering in me? What is that emotion that's triggering me to heal that, to look at it, to see it, and then move forward, and then bring in the person when you need to talk about them. Talk about it,
mm.
if that makes any sense.
That's very useful. I mean, I just had a conversation yesterday with my wife that would have been very useful. I'm gonna spring something on you because I think I
Sure.
remember reading somewhere that you do read tarot. Did I get that right?
I do oracle cards.
Oracle cards. Okay, all right. So, how would you feel about drawing some cards?
Sure. I would love that.
I don't know. Sometimes things just pop into my head, so I just roll with it. And this is one of them.
I'm
I've never
little.
had anyone read cards on my channel before, so you'll be the first.
Oh,
And can you, just for novices like me, because I'm only just learning, I don't really know much about tarot, but I'm just learning the value of tarot. My good friend Nikki reads tarot. What is there a difference between tarot cards and, did you say oracle cards? What's
oracle
the
cards.
difference? Yeah. So what's the difference between those for people who don't already know, like me?
Well, tarot is one that you study the art of it. So in any deck, in any deck. Like this, the hawk card represents a certain thing. Well, the three of swords represents a certain scenario in that deck. So tarot takes study. It takes a very much of a study of what does that card truly mean. What is that story behind that card? Each card has an ancestral meaning to it too.
Hmm.
It's the tarot deck has been around for centuries. So each card has a meaning to it. And then most people who do tarot decks, they do use their intuition of that is the trigger. For me, being dyslexic, going through that study was a hill that I wasn't willing to climb. So the universe gave me um, tarot deck, or I mean, oracle cards, which are the same. And once I get to know a deck, like this deck has been with me for years, that once I get okay, um, the angel deck wants to come out too. Um, that that decks will get into the theme with you. So like for me now, when I do a reading with deck, I get the sense of what that card means for that person. And it's interesting how sometimes when I pull deck cards at the end of a reading, that it's almost a sentence that I that replayed the reading I just gave them.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So, going into this could be a visual confirmation or that kind of thing. So, I each oracle deck has a book that comes with it, and sometimes, like on my show that I do, that I'll read the card because I want to let the person discern out what they want out of the deck instead of me telling them intuitively.
Hmm.
And being on the show, sometimes I get somebody I don't know, and I don't want to go in. I have high integrity for someone who and how I read for them. So I will not give certain information when I know it's live or it's going to go on a show. And I'll ask, is this something that you want? I'm getting something. Do you want me to wait until after the show to tell you? Type
Hmm.
of thing. So
Hmm.
um I got asked to do both decks. Okay.
When you say you got
So
asked to do both decks, so that was just like a bit of intuition there that you got to
intuition,
get them
yeah.
right. Yep. Hmm.
I pulled out this deck because I like working. This deck is one of my home decks to work with when I'm doing readings, and then the angel deck said, "Me too, me too, me too." Basically, um, it just kind of kept pulling me. Come on, me, me, me. So actually, a lot of my decks are coming alive, wanting to work with you, but I'm not gonna. Some of them I don't know as well, so I don't read. I have to read them, and I'm not willing to read right now. So I'm in a
Okay.
different mode. So I appreciate it. See? I told you it's alive.
So, can you just do a little bit of setup for people who may not have witnessed something like this before, like the typical scenario where you would be doing a reading like this for someone?
Well, what I do is I usually call in the deck and I ask for it to be cleared. I didn't clear it, but it's been sitting it with my other deck, so I know it's cleared. Um, and I also hear that intuitively. So what I do is I ask the deck to tune into your energy. What are you meant to hear? Sometimes I ask, is there a question that you would like to know? But today, it just obviously the energy is just moving with you. So you're in a big change here. I know that you're getting very much, um, well, if you haven't been getting stirred up and getting questions to ask, life isn't doing you well lately because with this Mercury, we just had an eclipse with the full moon, and then we're going into Mercury in retrograde, and then another eclipse. So this time frame has been pretty impactful for being upheaved a little bit. If you're not having those questions about relationships, if you're not having those questions stirred up about how am I talking to somebody, how am I interacting with something, do I need to, like I got hit the other day about scarcity, that something happened to me and then I went into scarcity, and then there's a mantra that came later on my videos or when I was posting one of my videos. And it was like, oh, I was in scarcity. Wow. Time for me to heal that note. I'm far from scarcity. I'm far from being in that scarcity moment. And so there again, as things are rising up for us to look at. So if you're getting triggered into um, um, if you're triggered up into going down a rabbit hole emotionally, check out what's in that rabbit hole of what triggered me there. Oh, it was somebody said that I was stupid. Okay, so look at why am I feeling like I'm stupid? Am I stupid? I'm not stupid, but why am I getting triggered by somebody calling me stupid? So looking into that if you can to see those understandings. So what I do with the cards is I ask them to show me what they want me to know for you. Okay. And I have small hands, so I can't do that thing like a lot of people do. I have very small hands. One of my ring size is number 4, so I have really small hands. Is that it? Yep, that's it for right now. Okay. So the first card I got was the Bard. So it's time for you to sing. It's time for you to find your voice in a way that is expanding. It's time for you not to be limited. And what I'm getting intuitively is that you stand behind people on your show to let them do the speaking. You are just as powerful. And it's time for you to sing your own song. It's time for you to stand up and be your own voice, to be your own, use your own intuition that you have, that you are just now trusting deeper and deeper, and it's time for you to trust. So a lot of the songs that the bards used to sing were songs that came to them intuitively, and they were storytellers. So it's time for you to start telling those knowings and those guidances. So your kids, as you talked about, I want to let them know that you did talk about the kids that you have a
Hmm.
little bit, and you said that they went off to school,
Mm.
that it's time for you to start letting them know what you've come through so that they know how to walk through their life. And my dad is
Mm.
popping in with an image. My dad does this once in a while where he pops me in, where he told me one time where he was at a party and his intuition told him to walk out the back door and take a couple friends with him. And as he walked out the back door, the cops walked in the front door. So my dad telling me that story told me to trust my intuition.
Mm.
So telling family members stories can be, so this card is kind of two-sided for you to tell your story in your practice, in your business, and then for your kids.
Mm.
Okay?
That's really good.
Um yeah, cuz it's time to take the mystery out of your life. And that's one thing I like about this deck. It's an older deck, that it's the same card with different name markers.
Hmm.
So when I get multiple name markers, remember the path is always the same in our life, but it's how our perception is. So with this, that the mystery. So going into this mystery, and it's a number 7 card. So going into this mystery, that the future is going to be a mystery, but the more that we can stand in our own empowerment, come from the power of gut knowing. The mind will confuse us. The heart gets too much feeling sometimes, but that gut, the gut, if we ground ourselves in the gut, the mystery gets more aware. And so trust yourself, I'm hearing, through the mystery of your life, that it will be seen. Another thing that's coming to me right now is for you to ask the question, what if? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if that over there happens? What if this happens? What if that happens? What is this? And so the more you can ask those questions of what if, then you know that if something happens, you at least have something discerned out that you can play into.
Mm.
Okay. So take the mystery out of life by playing the what if game. Doesn't mean that you plan, it's about that part of planning the future. Okay. Um, because you don't want to walk into the deception of unpreparedness.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't mean that we can plan for everything. The future is so unknown right now. People ask me, what do you think about the future? Oh, there's too much humanness involved right now. We have too much play of governments. We have too much play of the star beings. We have too much play of humanity. I'm going to call it. We have too much play of evil against light. I'm not going to say darkness. Darkness to me isn't bad. Evil against light. So going into this, that it's time for us to really negotiate into what is our decision, find our truth. Do not get into the fallities of untruth right now. Find our truth. Don't stick to it, but hold on to it. It's kind of like making, I'm getting the image of making like a stew or a soup. You know, sometimes we have to know the basis of the soup. We have to know what we always want to do. Chicken soup makes such and such and such and such. Oh, but I can add in my own flavoring to make my own truth, to make it flavorful for me. Because it's time to have community and it's time to go with our instincts. Horses have great instincts. So this card is accepting help from others, delegating authority. So there again is, we can't walk this path alone. We can't find our truth alone. But like I always tell people in readings, your truth is your truth. Sometimes what I'd like you to put what's being said in your session in your back pocket, carry it around a little while, and then get your truth out of it.
Hmm.
Okay, so it's time for your instincts. Horses know the good water to drink. Horses know when to run and stop and look. The mother herd, the mare that runs the herd, the stallion doesn't run the herd. The mare that runs the herd guides the herd through ancestral knowings. The stallion makes sure that everybody's protected. So there again is discern out, where do you walk in your life? The feminine side of knowing where to go with the herd, or standing back and protect the situation. We all have masculine, we all have feminine. And then now the angels want to speak. This one didn't pop out all the way. Merlin. It's time to have magic. What we believe we can actually have. The matrix system that we live in right now is very much shifting and changing. And so we can manipulate, I'm going to use the word, in a positive way to have things shift. All it takes is shifting our words, shifting our known set, and then bringing it down into our body. So embodying the knowing that we're having. So if I'm manifesting it under my feet. I'm manifesting it in my gut. I'm manifesting it in my heart. I'm manifesting it in my mind, and I'm manifesting it in my breath. So Merlin's magic is with you. It's time for you to believe that it is. It's time for you to get into your empowerment. It doesn't mean to be powerful. It means to be empowered. Merlin didn't throw his magic around. He was his magic.
Got it.
Okay. There's one more that wants to speak to you. This one, through my eye, drew onto it. So what she says is, the card says, to make your decisions, ask yourself, which way brings me closer to my divine purpose? Which way takes me away? So in other words, right now, the universe is asking us all to stand into discerning out, what does the soul truly want to do? What is my true calling? If you don't know what that is, what brings you joy? What do you fall back to constantly? What
Hmm.
is that thing that made you happy when you were younger that you brushed away because other people told you it wasn't good enough? It doesn't mean that the path is going to be easy, but the path means that it's going to be what it's meant to be. So, what brings you joy? Like I was told intuitively today to dance before the show. Brings me my magic. I love to dance. It's my way of working out. I can dance for 7 hours straight. I love to dance. My soul dances. So they want me to start getting exercise. So what did they tell me? To dance. Brings me joy. It's not always about the job, but it's about finding those pieces of the puzzle to bring us into enlightenment. So if I hope that helps you out, because I feel like you're getting bogged down a little bit by life, and it's time for you to just to find that fine line, because the more joy you bring into yourself, the more your family will find joy.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. That's very useful.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for that, Natasha.
Yeah, I
It's
hope
great.
that made sense.
Yeah. It, it's really really useful.
I love doing readings. It's my soul calling. My soul goes, yes, we get to do it. People,
Yeah.
after I do sometimes when I go do a fair or something, people say, you look the same as you did at the beginning. And I go, yeah, because this is my battery. It fills up my battery. It gives me energy. It just, it gives me.
Mm. Well, people are going to have questions for you, I'm sure. So, how about you tell us how people can get in touch with you if they want to, and let us know, what books, programs, what services that you've got as well.
Well, I have a private business of doing sessions, readings for people. I love to bring in insight, enlightenment for people's life, and I have a website. I just changed it up. Yeah, it's part of this change that's happening. Intuitiveclarifications.com is my website. I also post 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, inspirational short videos. My YouTube channel has all this activity on it, which is Natasha Venter IC is the abbreviation for that, Intuitive Clarifications. And that's how they can reach me. I love to bring hope. I also do group readings, mediumship, or courses type of scenarios. So I love to bring in that aspect. I had one mediumship group where out of the 10 women, 7 of them had lost children. And that was a very it was a very loving moment. Everybody went through and just felt loved afterwards. And it was such a gift. I had one soul that was actually talking to the other mothers and telling them that they had no fault in what they did. And it was amazing how that soul was so awakened to be able to have that conversation with the other women of the group. It was very inspiring, very inspiring. Because a lot
Mm.
of people who lose children, they take a lot of blame.
Yeah.
And I mean this with love, that it's not always the parents' fault. Now, there's pieces of the puzzle that they added to the children, yes, but a lot of these children have a hard time dealing with the vibration of this planet right now. The energy is it's so overwhelming right now that they don't know how to get through it, and it's sad. It's really
Mm.
sad.
And
But
do
I
you have
want everybody
any?
to know that their souls go home and they're happy.
Yes, that's a good message. Do you have any final message that you want to leave people with before we wrap things up?
Can I channel a message?
Absolutely.
Now, when I channel, I don't do full body enchantment. I'm still here, but I let the energy, the essence of that being come through and guide the message.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, they're kind of arguing right now. Michael, Jesus, or Mother Mary? Um, Mother wins over. Okay. She always wins over. So Mother Mary is one that She's here. She's not at all about religion or anything. She is totally about love. I call her mom. She is mom for a lot of people. So just give me a moment here. I know we're at that hour, so I apologize
It's
here.
okay.
Is
No,
this
no,
okay?
no, that's completely fine.
Oh, dear ones, I love you so much. I want you to remember that no matter where you're at in your world, that life is going to be okay. Please remember that love is going to be the thing that heals you. I am here to guide you into that loving moment. We are all struggling with love. Love is such a human experience, but it's not necessarily all human. Bring in the angel's love. Bring into the divine love. As this dear one says, bring in that angel love of the rainbow. Bring in that rainbow that falls over you so that you feel that love coming in and feel that love of the rainbow that comes in because that rainbow is of the divine love. So be in that love of the rainbow. It's kind of like walking in a field and you're walking up to a rainbow. Walk into that rainbow. Feel that love surround you. It is not of this earth love. It's of the love of the rainbow. Picture that rainbow being down around you, totally around you, and then going into the Mother Earth of this world. When we stand in that divine love, we understand that our love that has been around us on this planet has not been of truth. It has been of humanness. So going into finding that true love can help clear out some of this baggage that has been around you and on you. It is time to relieve yourself. Transform that stuff, that that pain of that baggage that you've had. Transform it as you see the baggage of darkness. The baggage of darkness. Put in the rainbow into that darkness and hold it, that love and that darkness, and see it transform. And then bring that love back to you. It is time to transform a lot of this darkness of ourselves into the light. And that is the blessing that can be for you for your future. I know that this message was quick, but we honor what's going on around this dear one. I want you to remember that love is with you. We love you. It doesn't matter what you believe in. It is time to believe in you. That's who we believe in. So trust this process of what it is. There is magic, as this one said, in this world right now. Hold on to that magic. Like a light of a flame of a candle. Hold on to that magic light because it will lead you through the path of darkness. You are blessed. Please remember, you are blessed. You are in a magical time on this planet right now, and it is a blessing moment. Trust you are here for a reason. I want you to remember you are loved. So be it. Oh, you are loved. Any questions, dear one? You have a question, don't you?
I don't think I do have a question.
Ah, but you're questioning something that was said in my message, though, wasn't you?
Okay.
There is something about love. Oh, nope, not gonna go here right now. This one will talk to you later. We love you so much. We love you so much. Everyone, we love you. Blessed be to you.
that that was awesome. She has a real
Thank you.
fortune teller vibe.
Yeah,
I like
there's a
it.
message for you afterwards, by the way, so,
Is it
um,
okay?
yeah.
I was thinking, do I have a question? I like to be as open as possible on the show,
Please.
and I couldn't think that there was. Yeah, honestly, I didn't. A question wasn't in my head. Um, but anyway, um,
Would you
if you
like
feel
to
if
ask it now, or would you like to ask it
well,
later?
I still don't know that there was one there actually.
Oh, okay.
I was feeling a bit like an empty vessel,
Oh, good.
but
You
which
guys
usually
can do that. That amazes me. You can be an empty Rick said my husband says, "What are you thinking about?" And I go, "Da da 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 da," and he goes, "Oh, I wasn't thinking anything."
yeah, yeah. I mean, often, I mean, my wife would say what you just said about me is like always thinking about something else. But sometimes I was just being, in that moment as
Moment. Well, good
you
for
were
you. Good for you.
channeling that. But sometimes what I'm doing also is I understand I'm just leaving some space for whatever occurs. So if there was something that came through, I'm fine with it
Okay.
yeah, being made public, or
Yeah.
I can always
It's
edit it
not to
out
be
later.
said here, though. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. So well, that's great. I think we're pretty much done. Natasha, I really appreciate you being a guest on my show today. It's been an absolute joy to have you on here, and perhaps at some point we might have you back on the show again. So
I
thanks for
would
being here.
love that. I've had a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun. So thank you. Yes, it's amazing, but I love to be a support in this world. That is my soul calling. So if you're going through grief, if you're going through a story of emotions, if you're going through not sure what to do with yourself right now, I would be grateful to support that journey.